I have no other changes other than that. Does anyone else have any other changes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll move.
Dora, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? We'll have the roll, please.
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Edwards,
Yeah.
Mr. Palomo,
Yes.
Dr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. Now we'll move to the approval of the minutes as they were presented to us for the board meeting on July 1st. Is there a motion to accept those minutes as presented?
So moved.
Moved, second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? Okay, we'll have the roll, Mike.
Mr. Palomo,
Yes.
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Dr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. Now we'll move to the sponsors report. So I'm not sure if it's Steve or if it's Denny, or I'm sorry, Steve or Ed, but we're happy to have you both with us.
Well, I will start, and Ed can intervene when he wants. There's not a whole lot to report. August is kind of a slow time gearing up for the fall. We typically have had what's called opening assurances that we have to do at this time of year. However, the Department of Education changed that this year. So that document did not have to occur unless we were starting a new school or we changed facilities, made a move or so forth. So right now we're just kind of waiting on our council and Peppel and Wagner to get us the documentation for this year. And then, as you guys know, you'll be signing some conflict of interest forms and some other items here for September by their due deadline of the end of September. So other than that, we had a sponsor expenditure report that was due, but that didn't, it wasn't something that we had to do. We filled out a narrative since we are a public school sponsor, and everything else right now is just status quo.
Very good. And Ed, do you know, had you met Dora before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're aware of everyone except David Stubblebine, who's working with our technology.
I know David well. David knows me.
Okay, very good.
He won't admit it, but he does. Hey, Gene, just to let the whole board know, Steve and I also received a compliance schedule for the year that we shared with Jeff and Ryan and Mike. We have that, but as you know, sometimes that has a life of its own and it changes during the year, but we have shared that. So we know that those are the things that we have to knock out as we move through the year.
Very good. Very good. Well, welcome to the helm, Ed.
Thank you.
Yes, we're glad to have you. Is there anything else from Steve or Ed? If not, I'll move on to the president's report. I just wanted to report to you that Mr. Thompson is attending from his hospital room in Florida. He had taken a vacation and became ill, and so he wasn't able to return to Ohio yet. So Ryan is going to fill in for him this evening. So Jeff, I don't know if you want to say anything or not, otherwise we'll move on.
No, we're watching from afar. You're doing a good job.
Okay, very good. The other report that I have to make is that I know Dave's making website updates, and I wanted to report that I had attended the Title IX training that we had last week. Ryan is attending that, Jeff Thompson attended that, and I attended that as well. The other thing I wanted to mention is that sometimes in August we have a Dora and Bob, I'm going to ask you guys, would you mute your phones for a minute? Just go to your telephones and mute them. We're getting a lot of feedback. Great. Anyway, that work session or training session is going to be delayed till we move a little bit further into the school. So we'll move on to the treasurer's report, Mike.
All right. I did get your email, and next time I will. I promise that I'll have more screen share available. That's a good idea. This time it's a little sketchy, but I'll try to move really slow for everybody. So in the treasurer's report, hopefully everybody's got time to review this. And if you haven't, obviously stop me or send me an email or call me. And I'll be happy to answer the question. Reconciliation sheet for July. We ended the month at $2.6 million. That's obviously up from last month. A couple reasons. One, as we believe we were overfunded for the month.
Mike, just 1 second, okay?
Yep.
Dora and Bob, we're getting an awful lot of feedback from your telephones. I'm not sure that you're muted yet. Okay. There we go. Bob's muted. Dora, can you mute your phone? Do you know how to do that? If you just turn the sound off, you'll be able to still hear us, but we won't hear the sound. There you go. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Couple reasons is one, we're still being funded at about 1,015 FTEs as of right now. We're monitoring enrollment very closely. I know Ryan will probably talk about where we're at. Now we had some federal grant money come in that we were waiting on. We had that audit going through, and that's done. I haven't heard anything on it, so as far as I'm concerned, it's a good thing. So we're moving on from there. After that, we have the check register and outstanding check. Gene sent me a question on one of the checks, and if anybody has any other questions, let me know. The one thing I didn't mark on here is the North Point ESC check for $16,080. NOECA bills through North Point, so that's actually our NOECA services. So that's that one. I labeled a few other ones, but if anybody has any other questions, definitely just let me know. Moving on, I'll jump right to the spreadsheet. What I want you to know about the spreadsheet is that these are very, very rough numbers. We are waiting as long as I can. I know in September we're going to have appropriations and general fund spending plan and things like that. This is a rough guess on where we're going to be. When you look at the far left side of this, we're kind of looking at my fiscal year. And when I'm looking at the revenue section up top, you can see that the total general fund revenue, I'm looking at about a little over $4 million. Just so everybody knows, that's based on about 550 students or about 460 FTEs. Again, that's a guess. I think we're going to have a lot better idea come next month when school starts, when we get a couple weeks in, about who we're going to have and how many students we're going to have. This is something that me and Jeff and Ryan talk about frequently, weekly, if not daily, just to keep up on it. But I just wanted you to kind of understand where these numbers come from. Now, when we look at the bottom half of that, the expenses, I think those are going to be fairly accurate. I think that's kind of where we're going to be. Salaries and benefits are a little bit higher. Just remember that our fiscal year is July, and we're still paying teacher contracts through August. So that's not necessarily the salaries that we have for the upcoming school year, but those are the salaries we're going to pay for the fiscal year. So just keep that in mind. Other than that, when you look at all the percentages, like the percentage of total for the month or even the year, 1/12 of the year is about 8.33%. So when you kind of look at those percentages, you're seeing some 15s, you're seeing some higher numbers there. Again, that's because, one, on the revenue side, we're being funded a little bit higher than what I think we're going to be. And we're monitoring that as closely as we can. We're trying to put that money aside, understanding that we're going to have to live off of less for the rest of the year. And as far as expenses go, just remember, like I said before, we're still paying out contracts through the month of August. So these revenues and expenditures are going to be a little bit higher right now than they will be in the future. again, these numbers are based off of where I think we're going to be for the fiscal year. So it's a little bit deceiving when you're looking at it right now, and we're looking at July numbers with additional revenue and additional expenses. One thing I do want to point out to you is under the debt service at the very bottom, you can see the yearly amount's $186.30. And the monthly amount I have in there is $15.5. That's actually $31,005 on the monthly amount, but that ends in December. So that's our building payment, and we're done with the building payment in December. So that was a little bit of error I had there. Wanted to point that out. Other than that, you can see at the very, very bottom, our total FTE is 1,015.03. That's what we're being funded at currently. Are there any questions on that?
And that current funding changes to our current enrollment in which month?
Well, technically it's going to be October. If we can get a jump on it before that and understand kind of where we're going to be as far as enrollment goes, once school starts, we might be able to have a much clearer option on what we're going to report. And we'll report that as soon as we possibly can. But as of right now, that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of what we have enrolled even as of now, until we start getting records releases and things like that. That's kind of where we're at. That's kind of how that number is determined. Any other questions on that? All right, after that, the next 3 pages are basically your August payment, so it's kind of a jump forward. As you can see at the very bottom of the district summary report, that's where that 1,015.03 comes into play. And then the very last page is our August payment. So we're kind of jumping ahead again. I always try to give you that next month, because by the time we have our board meeting, we've already gotten our payment for the next month. So I want you guys to just understand where we're at. If there's any questions on that, let me know, but that's August looking forward. And that's all I have, unless anybody has anything.
Are there any questions? And be sure to unmute if you have questions. All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve items A through C of the treasurer's report?
I'll move.
Okay, moved by Israel. Is there a second? You have to figure out how to unmute if you want a second. Kent, Dora, is Bob? There we go.
You need a second, Jane. Do you have a?
Ah, very good. Thank you for figuring that out. I appreciate that. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have the roll, please.
Mr. Palomo,
Yes.
Dr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Edwards,
Kent, you have to unmute. And Dora, you'll have to unmute.
Star 6.
What?
Star 6 is unmute.
Oh, star 6 is on unmute, Melanie. You're giving instructions. Thank you. There we go, Kent.
Hello. There?
Yes, are you willing to second the motion? No, we're
Yeah.
voting. We're voting.
Yeah, voting yes.
Mrs. Grant,
I'm fearful that she can't figure it. We'll have a lack of vote for Mrs. Grant due to technical difficulties.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. All right. As I said in Jeff's absence, I'm going to turn the meeting over now to Ryan for the superintendent's report and/or recommendations.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Smith. First of all, I want to wish Mr. Thompson well as he recovers, and hopefully he can get out of the hospital and return here home soon. So I wish him the best. Also, I want to recognize the work of our staff who have been working hard over the last few weeks here to try to prepare for the school year. Our staff that's in the building has been working extremely hard, whether it be on enrollments, on our transition to Dazzle through NOECA, or our transition to VLA for Jefferson County ESC. They've been working very hard. We still have a lot of major tasks that we need to work through here over the next week and a half as we prepare for the first day of school on August 31st. But I'm confident with the hard work that our team is going to be ready for school the first day on August 31st. Looking at enrollment numbers, a quick update. Let's see if I can screen share here. Well, I tell you what, I'll just give you an update. The update on enrollment as of today, and this is based on student mailings that we've received from students. We sent out not the enrollment forms, but the beginning of the school year forms to all of our students here in July, along with an envelope to send those documents back to us to try to get a jump start on the coming school year. But also, what this is doing is helping us to get a good idea for sure who is confirmed to come back to Townsend this fall. In addition to those forms, also we've had some summer enrollments. So as of today, we have confirmation that 426 students are definitely returning to Townsend. And this number is a very conservative number as to where our enrollment's going to be, because some of our students don't turn in those beginning of the year forms until maybe the first, second, third week of school. So that's a positive sign. We're at 426 right now, and again, that's a conservative number. So we're going to be much higher than that when we start school on August 31st. So that is a positive. Moving on to the superintendent's report recommendations here in item A is a recommendation to approve our 2020-2021 school handbook for student handbook as presented. Item B is a recommendation to approve the district's remote learning plan as presented. We had come up with a remote learning plan, but we have formatted it in a way that complies with the ODE template that was provided to us. So upon approval, we will then need to share this with ODE by the end of this week. Item C is a recommendation to approve a contract with Total Education Solutions, TES, to provide a school psychologist for TCS for the 2020-21 school year at a contract of $85 per hour. Now, there's a change here with this. This is going to be just an as-needed basis with those services through TES. Our school psychologist, Kristen Fallow, as we said earlier in item E, we have pulled item E from the agenda, which was a resignation for Kristen. She has decided as of this afternoon to rescind that resignation, which we are very excited about keeping her on board here at TCS, keeping her as a part of our team. And as a result of that rescinding of resignation, we will not need to pursue a full-time psychologist through TES, but we will, by approving the contract, it'll give us the flexibility to utilize their services if we find that the workload for our school psychologist is greater than one person can tackle. So we've taken a different approach there with item C. In item D, the recommendation to approve the following policies in their substantive form as presented. Let's see, we've got policy 206, the general notice of non-discrimination. Policy 222.1, the Title IX grievance procedure. Policy 222 is the Title IX coordinator. Policy 264 is the sexual and other forms of harassment policy. Policy 264.1, the anti-harassment, intimidation, and bullying policy. And policy 411.1 is the use of face masks and coverings policy. And I believe that our lawyer, Adam Shira, shared those this past week with the fellow board members. Moving on, as we said, item E has been pulled from the agenda tonight. And item F, which will now, I believe, be item E, is the recommendation to approve the 2020-2021 Townsend Community School calendar as presented. Normally, that calendar is approved earlier in the school year. It had been created, but amidst all the changes and the COVID-19, everything that's going on, I think we missed approving that one. So we have that on the agenda to approve tonight. And Mrs. Smith, that's all I have. If there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions for Ryan? I just wanted to bring your attention, we've already heard it mentioned once, but the staff in-service days will begin on August 25th, so next Tuesday.
Correct.
Is that right? Next Tuesday. And then the first day, of course, yeah. Then the first day for students will be August 31st. Regarding procedures for that staff day, is that going to be in person or remote, or how is that being handled?
Yeah, at this time, we are planning on in-person professional development for our staff on Tuesday, the 25th. And we are likely looking at also having staff in the building on the 26th and 27th. But they will be more doing individual work in their offices and classrooms to prepare for the school year on those 3 days.
Very good. I do think it's helpful before we vote on this to just bring your attention to that remote learning plan, because it gives guidance for those of us that come into the building as visitors as well. And also the face mask policy. So you won't be surprised. Be sure to bring a face mask when you come to the building. Are there any other questions about the recommendations? If not, is there a motion to approve action items A through E as presented?
I move to approve actions A through E.
Thank you, Kent. And a second, please.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a tie between Bob and Israel. You pick, Mike.
All right.
Go ahead, give it to Israel.
Oh, okay.
I got to change it then. I already know it's done. All right, Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Mr. Palomo,
Yes.
Mrs. Grant. You're still muted. Dr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. I texted Dora and she didn't answer back, so I'm not sure if we should count her that she left the meeting. We'll have to clarify that with her mic.
I will do that.
Okay. Is there any other business to come before the board? Well, hearing none at this point, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Bob made the motion. Second.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor? Yay.
Aye.
Hey,
Very good. Unanimous decision that we will adjourn. Thank you to everyone. If we have any information at all from the Ohio Department of Education, you will be the first to know. We're really hoping that by next week, we may get some news as to the settlement agreement. But you'll be sure to be notified for that. Thank you, everyone, and do take care, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Night.